Page 232 in Listening with the Third Ear by Theodore Wright is one of our all-time favorites. It's a protein shake with an almond milk and coconut milk mixture, half and half. It's really good. Page 232, gonna go back to page 231. We have traveled far from a description of grouping presentiment almost to that of a clear, scientific, definite cognition of the hidden impulses of the soul. We may compare our journey to the change from early dawn, which only shows things in vague outline, to the morning, when they appear sharply delineated. The facts stated with such excessive emphasis that the aim of psychoanalysis is to bring the investigation of unconscious processes within the range of reason, assuredly does not mean that this aim can be attained solely by the methods of conscious reason. It would seem advisable to come to a psychological understanding about the nature of comprehension, since that is our goal. Comprehension appears to me to be a purely intellectual process, indeed, the model of such a process. If, meanwhile, we submit the question of the origin of the act of comprehension to a closer psychological examination, we shall realize that originally it was a kind of taking possession in a much more material sense. The root sense of the word points to that, and may be compared with understand, to put oneself in the place of something. The German word begriffen, almost used synonymously with versetzen, the French comprende, and the Italian capire. I apologize for my pronunciation. Approach more clearly to the earliest meaning of the process. They show that originally it amounted to taking possession of things, seizing them. The physical quality of the object, the material nature and proximity of what was to be comprehended, must at first have been very important, indeed a necessary condition of comprehension. In the early days of the human race, there can have been no comprehension of abstract things in our sense. It would have been self-contradictory to comprehend something. People had to catch hold of it to grasp it. It is no mere chance that we use this word to in the sense of comprehend. If we comprehend the word conceive in its root meaning, which is undoubtedly material, with the word conception in the sense of a purely logical structure, we shall realize how far the process of comprehension or conception has traveled from its original nature. Intellectual, non-concrete comprehension in logical inferences and conclusions represents the latest stage in this development. Man undoubtedly lived many hundreds of thousands of years upon the earth without feeling any need to comprehend his surroundings in our sense. Every day teaches us that even in our time, the need is by no means one of the strongest in the human race. Comprehension is a special way of reacting to the impressions that life brings us, a special case of mental mastery of them, certainly the latest and most spiritual type. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to highlight the discussion y'all are having at the moment. So some are talking about how they see how if they remove that personal kind of identification, they get what I'm saying. Because what I'm reading and saying makes a lot of sense, is very beautiful. Focus on what's real, the root of things, the truth, can sometimes be blinded or even ignored completely and not even listened to and cast it off as not listening to that because of where it's coming from. So when you see how much hate you have for me, my sarcasm, my narcissistic ways, condescending, rude, disrespectful, leech, destitute to society, whatever it is, Karen, non-vaxxer, bully, anything that you label or judge me as that might impede your vision of what is being read, seen, taught, the truth, what's right in front of your face. Once you remove that, and I know it's hard sometimes because I can be a bitch. I try not to be. I really do. I have a lot of characters. I'm not sure which one is actually me. I think I do. There's a baseline, a natural flow. For some, yeah, they say each personalities we have stronger, like sarcasm might be more of a powerful tool. Some call it a tool, and it can just be an emotional shift or avoidance. Someone doesn't want to get angry, so they make a joke. They don't want to cry, they make a joke. For some, it might be angry. They don't want to get angry, so they get angry about something else. They don't want to be sad, so they get angry. They don't want to laugh because the person who told the joke, they can't stand them. And sometimes they want to laugh. It depends, right? They say, yeah, environmental factors and anything that you're absorbing or listening to at the moment. Something might sound really profound and just want to sit there and listen to it, and it's beautiful. Right, if you're in a shitstorm, you might want to tell them to shut the fuck up, right? Who knows? It all depends, really, right? Thank you. Yes, I know. I'm trying to work on that. It's been an issue for a while with that, but it's not too bothersome. Hey, good pizza?
Yeah.
Had strawberry ice cream and pizza. Where was I? I have no idea. Oh, here we were. Oh, maybe I was over here. I have no idea where I was. Do you remember? You're supposed to help me when I say those things. You're leaving me hanging. This isn't a live. I don't have to post. It's such an embarrassment. We find a surviving trace of this origin when we see how children open their mouths when they are surprised. One need not be an unquestioning adherent of Darwin's theory of expressive actions in order to assume the likelihood that this movement gives expression to the reflexive residuum Crossword puzzle. Residum. Boy, we don't see you twice in a row too often, but when I do, I get all excited for some reason. To the reflexive residuum of an original impulse to devour something. Everybody knows that the little ones do not always make a halt at the preparatory action. Now, see, there could be a whole host of people saying, what an idiot, getting excited over a word, total geek. For all you know, someone could be paying a good sum of money to come up with a crossword puzzle for double U words. So a double U word might excite me, because to me, that's money. Who knows? Yeah, for some it just could be a simple little... You never know, really, I guess. Who am I to judge? Does it matter? Who, what, where, when, and why? To serve what purpose? I know, when we start looking into those things, it helps to bring things to the surface, and again, in a lot of situations it doesn't matter. In some ways, it does help with the flow of information, awareness, training, bringing clarity and understanding. Although very frustrating, again, for a lot of situations, say in a court of law. What's provable, circumstantial, a lot of really horrible situations, and when you can't do anything about them, and they do say it is best to not shed light on those situations, because that becomes more of a public safety issue. Right, so then the aware people are saying, well, no, we're telling you, you're going to have more of an issue, do something about this. We're nonviolent, right? And they're saying, well, yeah, I know, but we're dealing with people that are very violent. And they spike people who are very violent. And they actually put weapons into the hands purposely of people who are very violent, just like they do the drugs, and they know they're going to deal them in certain areas. So when you start to understand how that works, they're clockwork people. I'm telling you right now, 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. Yeah, we get that a lot too. A lot of people have a hard time comprehending that. We do the best we can. One need not be an unquestioning adherent of Darwin's theory of expressive actions in order to assume the likelihood that this movement gives expression to the reflexive residuum of an original impulse to devour something. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Everybody knows that the little ones do not always make a halt at the preparatory action. Surprise then finds expression not only through the hands, but also through the mouth. It shows that we must look here for the most infantile, the archaic form of comprehension. What has the derivation of comprehension to do with our purpose of studying certain psychological problems? Something, at any rate, for this peculiar origin of the process of comprehension will never quite lose its force. It will make itself felt in a distorted and utterly emasculated form, even in the complicated, and so it seems intellectually determined. Processes of convincing and forming conceptions. The fact that the origin of comprehension was the act of incorporating an object that at the beginning of human evolution it amounted to feeling the object within oneself will never quite lose its significance. Originally, one may suppose it did not matter whether a man swallowed the object, dead or alive. What mattered was the swallowing. The object comprehended must be changed from it to a part of the ego. Again, originally, one may suppose it did not matter whether a man swallowed the object, dead or alive. What mattered was the swallowing. The object comprehended must be changed from it to a part of the ego, from something without to something within. To this very day, we use the expression thirst for knowledge. It is not accidental that we can speak of a subject's being incorporated, and that we speak jestingly of lapping up a story, etc. Latter, this physical meaning was quite lost of sight. Comprehension had become assimilation in the well-known intellectual sense. Psychological comprehension of another person is a special case of the sublimated seizure and incorporation. It is, in a sense, psychological cannibalism. The other person is taken into your ego and becomes, for a time being, a part of your ego. What is this? Reverse vampirism? Terminology. Terminology can really, it can be destructive, it can be hopeful. Right, transparency. Yeah, people totally missed the mark there, huh? Yeah, we just got a C of transparence. How beautiful. Anyways, psychological comprehension of another person is a special case of this sublimated seizure and incorporation. It is, in a sense, psychological cannibalism. The other person is taken into your ego and becomes, for the time being, a part of your ego. Thus, in the process of psychological comprehensions, man's craving for power is satisfied, not only in its most refined and sublimated form, but unconsciously in its crudest. See how, if you're taking that in from your own perspective or reading it yourself, if I'm saying it, am I saying it with a maniacal smile? No one can do anything to you. Yeah, it's all you. Right. Yeah, and that's up to you. If you want to put yourself in someone else's shoes or take on a different perspective, you don't have to personalize. And you don't have to listen to anyone. Well, why are you taking time to care for another? Well, that person, yeah, okay, caring for them is okay. The veterans and the dogs, yep, you can care for them. No, those fucking assholes, no, can't care for them. The old people and the dogs. Who else? The veterans? These veterans, not those veterans. Which ones? Blue team, go! Blue team, go! Are we on first base yet? The division between the ego and the external world is a relatively late product of individual development. Anyone observing a very young baby can see that he knows something and knows nothing of the difference. In the beginning, from the psychological point of view, there is only the ego, the external world. subsequently separated from him, belongs to him as much as his own body, external objects as much as his own organs. Only after a long time is the external world divided from the ego, and then with hesitation. But in a certain sense, it always remains a detached part of the ego. In the process of taking in an object, of introducing it into ourselves, we only take into the ego once more what originally belonged to it. We only reconquer what we were formerly compelled to yield up under the stern compulsion of reality and what has been temporarily separated from the ego. Originally, there was no one way of taking possession of an object. One devoured it. Now we know various ways of taking possession, including the possibility, so rich in cultural significance, of taking into ourselves by comprehension. The introduction of an object into oneself results in a change of the ego. For the moment, the ego becomes the object. It is changed into the object. We know the archaic prototype of this attitude. Ethnologists and scientific travelers who have lived for a long time among the most primitive Australian tribes assure us that a savage who has eaten a man hopes for certain bodily and mental changes through the act of incorporation. For instance, a man who has made his dinner off a white missionary is convinced that he has made his own the secret powers and excellences, the mana of the man whom he admires and envies. He has incorporated him, and not merely in a bodily sense. This belief rests upon an ancient magical principle. A man is what he eats. The Indian who has killed an old grizzly bear and wraps himself in its skin is filled with the bear's spirit. He assumes its movements and is called bear by his relatives and friends. When a man incorporates an object, he not only sets up certain physical processes in his organism, but also takes the qualities of the object into his ego. The assumption of a change in the ego is not confined to people in the lowest stages of culture, nor to the effect of the crudest manner of incorporating an object. We detect a late and highly sublimated trace of this savage belief in proverb. Knowledge is power. That's a good part. Took me a while to read those pages, huh? I feel like it did. Page 232, 231, 232, 233, and 234. Feels like it took me a while. 23 minutes. Good, thank you. You're welcome. It's a very nice day. Can definitely feel spring coming. It is chilly. You can feel it's like a combination going back and forth today. You feel that crisp winter air and you feel and smell spring. I love it. Really good shake. And we have some basmati rice in the crock pot. Some ramen broth. Broccoli, red onion, garlic, a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of cumin, salt, pepper. Did I say garlic? Some garlic. It's very good. First fly of the season. For me, I have not seen a fly yet, but there's one right there. First spring fly. Can you see it? Let's open the window. Must have gotten in the crack. Can't find its way back out. Fly away, fly. There you go. Shoo, fly, shoo. Okay. Much love, health, and peace. I'll do some more reading in a little bit.